I bring and keep together my family, my community, other families and communities who live in peace and unity with others. I am unity.
Today is our fourth discussion of the universal law called I am unity. It is one of the 11 universal laws represented by the guiding principles of peace and unity. In this discussion, we will continue to analyze racism, which is one of the violations of the universal law, I am unity. Today, we will discuss the myth of race supremacy. The myth of race supremacy is extremely important because it is at the heart of racism and is the reason, along with economics, racism is so entrenched and persistent in our society and in the world. Normally, we would organize debates or discussions around different violations of the guiding principles of peace and unity. And that is to allow more community participation. But racism is different because most rational people know its manifestations are objectively evil. So we won't debate it. But the myth of race supremacy must be clearly defined and understood. Because as Black people, we must have the correct understanding of racism and an effective way to address it, since it primarily is directed at us. But before we can begin talking about the myth of race supremacy, let's put this all into the correct context. Because for Black people, this discussion is about more than racism. It's about universal laws and creating a true culture for our people. There are three areas critical to the success of the Black community in Africa and the African diaspora. They are culture, education, and economics. In this video series, we continue to examine issues and concepts related to creating a culture to develop self-love, which those who care about the Black community may examine and consider. As usual, we'll define culture. We must define culture because most people have the wrong idea about what culture is. We believe that culture is the music we listen to, or the style of clothing that we wear, or our celebrations and holidays, or whether we eat with a fork, knife, or spoon, or eat with our hands. Those things and activities are not culture. Culture comes from the word cultivate, which is related to the domestication and growth of plants. Culture is like a gardener who cultivates a young plant by tying it to a stand for support, putting it in a certain location, and watering it. The gardener does this to foster the growth of the plant so it becomes tall and strong, so it does not become bent and crooked, so it does not become a weed. The gardener does this with labor, care, and study to ensure that her plants are the best. Culture is a system to cultivate and civilize our people. This is done by tying our people to universal laws and standards of behavior based on a foundational premise: do good, do no harm. So we will grow strong, not bent and crooked. If you care about the women, men, and children of Black communities, you will use labor, care, and study to make sure that they are at their best. Tie yourself, your family, and your community to the universal laws called the guiding principles of peace and unity. I meditate to relax in all situations. I am peace.
I bring and keep together the families and communities who live in peace and unity with others. I am unity. I learn how to learn. I am knowledge. I create for myself, my family, and my community. I am power. I obey the laws of my family and community that are in harmony with peace and unity. I am law. I do no harm to my family, other families, or my community. I am protection. I choose the feelings, thoughts, and actions that are in harmony with the principles of peace and unity. I am control. I have fun and work with my family and my community. I am cooperation and harmony. I am careful about what I believe. I accept ideas and beliefs that are in harmony with these guiding principles. I am correct ideas and beliefs. With all my heart, I take care of my family, other families, and communities that are living according to the principles of peace and unity. I am devotion. I keep a clean body. I have clean habits. I eat healthy food. I exercise. I care for my environment and planet. I abuse no substance or drug. I am strength.
This is how your ancient ancestors built advanced civilizations that lasted for thousands of years. Many of us admire the great pyramids and temples, the obvious wealth of our ancient ancestors. What is most important for you to understand today is that those achievements came from our advanced social organization. Social organization based upon universal laws. This is what is important for Black people and Black communities to understand today. That is what the guiding principles of peace and unity will do for you today. Currently, Black communities in varying levels of social chaos, corruption, poor health, and absolute economic stagnation as a result of holding on to the conditioned ideas and behaviors from slavery and colonialism. It is these conditioned ideas and behaviors which have destroyed self-love within us and within our communities. They must be replaced with a culture of self-love based upon universal laws. By rebuilding your culture based on these universal laws, you will revive self-love and bring order, purification, health, and progress to Black communities. Without culture and social organization based on universal laws, Black people cannot advance socially or economically. With the guiding principles of peace and unity as its foundation, culture will, 1, prepare you for life. 2, foster your growth. And 3, improve you as a person and as a community. You can always download the guiding principles of peace and unity and their violations at our website, thegppu.org. Now, back to the universal law, I am unity, and its violation, racism. We will use the universal laws and their premise, do good, do no harm, to address this problem because it will allow you to more easily identify racism. Most important, I am unity and the other guiding principles must become part of your culture to prevent the negative effects of racism and racist behavior. Culture allows you to make that effort a way of life, allows the effort to be sustained and enduring. It is your heart and mind that must embrace these universal laws and the premise, do good, do no harm, as a culture. Then it will be your heart and mind that will see racism for the evil that it is and help protect you from it. The universal law, I am unity, and all the universal laws will help you do that. In the fight for Earth's economic resources, those who conquered and held the lands of black people and those who enslaved and colonized black people created the myth of race supremacy as a rationale to justify their violence, destruction, exploitation, and other crimes against humanity. The myth of racial supremacy is one of the reasons for racism. Economics is the other. In the fight for Earth's economic resources, those who conquered the lands of black people and those who enslaved and colonized black people created the myth of race supremacy as a rationale to justify their violence, destruction, exploitation, and other crimes against humanity. They did that to yellow and brown people too. At the top of the racial hierarchy myth is the whites or European people. This myth says that they are considered the apex of human development and that their culture is the apex of human cultural development, which their behavior, especially with other people in the world, kind of brings that into question. Following white people is yellow people or Asian people, then brown people, and at the bottom of the hierarchy is black people and indigenous African people. Each level below whites in this mythology are considered less than the human ideal or subhuman. This hierarchy is a myth because science says that all humans share 99.99% of each other's DNA. Says that genetic variation inside a racial group is much greater than genetic variation between different racial groups. That intelligence is influenced by environment, education, nutrition, and social conditions, not race. That early scientific studies to justify racism were flawed and used to, in that, justify racism. Science says there's no credible evidence that cognitive ability is determined by racial ancestry. Finally, science says that there's no evidence supporting an inherent superiority of any racial group. But you really don't need science to tell you this. Science, you know that there's geniuses, stupid people, moral people, immoral people, creative people, productive people, lazy people, distributed evenly throughout all of humanity, just through your observation. It is opportunity for people that is not distributed. This myth, this lie of racial superiority is an evil scourge in the black community and an evil scourge on the planet as a whole. Why? It is evil because you're taught and conditioned to see only a person's color. You have no idea if the person's a good or bad person. You have no idea if he's a potential scientist or doctor or who can cure cancer, or if he or she is a megalomaniac who will destroy the whole nation so that he can rule over the ashes. You're responding only to a person's color. This myth allows the least intelligent, most ignorant, most vile, most destructive person to be assigned superiority because of his or her skin color. It allows the best brightest, most humane, productive, to be assigned inferiority because of his or her skin color. That's not superiority. That's advantage. There is a universe of difference between having advantage and being superior. This myth gives those at the top of the hierarchy an economic and social advantage over those at the bottom. Then they call that advantage superiority, racial superiority, while they actually steal the creative efforts and productivity of those that they explicitly or implicitly call inferior. This myth allows those with advantage to deny opportunity, exploit, brutalize, dehumanize, and kill those who their myth has labeled inferior. This creates a system in which those at the top of the racial hierarchical myth, who are of lesser intelligence, lesser talent, lesser skills, and lesser morality, can thrive even if they're mediocre. And that's what they really are fighting about, so that they can thrive even though they're mediocre. While those at the bottom of the racial hierarchy myth, or those who are of greater intelligence, greater talent, possessing more skills, and more moral value, are denied those same opportunities. True merit does not and cannot exist in such a system. What is worse, those who are not at the top of the race hierarchical myth silently internalize this myth, this lie. Then they outwardly, quietly strive to be closer to the top by punching down on those who are at the bottom. Even black people do this. They do this because they have accepted the psychology of the myth and because they want the economic advantages it provides. This is often called colorism, which is just a subset of racism. So yellow, brown, and even black people are being racist towards each other. They do not realize that they have accepted a position as subhuman in the race hierarchical myth. Or maybe they do. Yes, racism is an evil scourge on our planet, and racists are consciously or unconsciously practicing evil. This is why racism is a violation of the universal law, I am unity. This is why it is one of the few violations that cannot be debated. But as a black people, what should our response be? Because racism is primarily directed at us. The correct and effective way to respond is by living according to a culture of universal social laws represented by the guiding principles of peace and unity. And its foundational premise: do good, do no harm. Use these universal laws to evaluate and judge people based on the consistency of their actions, and judge institutions by their policies and practices. What have they done in the past? What are they doing now? Using these universal laws and the premise, do good, do no harm, will allow you to be clear-eyed and see when evaluating people, will allow you to internally withdraw from them, mentally and emotionally, if they are racist, will allow you to withdraw material support from them when it is necessary. Your survival and prosperity depend upon you giving no support to racism and to racists. Avoid spending your money with racists or with organizations and businesses that demonstrate racist policies and practices. Most important, teach your children to reject racism and racists. Black children often have no idea why life is sometimes so unfair to them, that they are being targeted because of the myth of racist supremacy and by racists. Do not allow them to go out into the world uninformed and unarmed with the knowledge that could protect them mentally, emotionally, and physically from the evil of racism and the practice of racists. We will continue this important topic in the next I Am Unity discussion when we talk about the economics of racism. You can always watch our previous I Am Unity discussions on our Facebook page, our Facebook group, or our YouTube channel. Now, watch the following video. It's about Miss Harriet Tubman. It will show you and give you an example of how to create a culture of self-love based upon a universal law called I Am Protection. Do you know an I Am Protection hero like Harriet Tubman? Nominate that person for the I Am Protection Award at higherselfawards.org. Until we meet again, do good, do no harm.
Harriet Tubman exemplified the I Am Protection Award. She escaped slavery in 1849. She risked her life 13 times by going back into the South to lead 300 family members and other black people out of slavery. She served as a Civil War nurse. She was an abolitionist and advocate for women's suffrage. She was the first woman in America to conduct an armed military raid against enslavers. Yes, Harriet represented the I Am Protection Award. Celebrate the warrior's commitment of Harriet Tubman, a true embodiment of I Am Protection, by finding and celebrating today's Harriet Tubmans. Who is that person or organization with Harriet's love of people and her courage in the face of seemingly insurmountable evil and opposition? Who do you believe will stand for the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being of black people and carry forward the warrior tradition of Harriet in the fields of child abuse prevention, violence prevention and community safety, trauma prevention and resilience or self-defense? Nominate a hero at higherselfawards.org.